Karen HOA wants me evicted for having a service dog is a chilling tale of one person's fight against an oppressive homeowners association. Moving into the seemingly idyllic Maplewood Estates quickly turns into a nightmare when the self-appointed queen of the HOA, Karen, sets her sights on the narrator and their beloved service dog, Max. As tensions rise and the community becomes divided, the narrator must navigate through lies, rumors, and a relentless campaign to protect their home and their companion. Here's how it all went down. I never thought I'd be the type to clash with a homeowners association, HOA, but then I met Karen. Moving into the quiet neighborhood of Maplewood Estates, not its real name, seemed like a dream come true. I really worked hard to afford living here, so this was a thing for me. The lawns were manicured, the houses picturesque, and the community seemed friendly. That was until I brought home Max, my service dog. It was a sunny Tuesday morning when the trouble began. I was out walking Max, a golden retriever with a demeanor as gentle as a summer breeze, when I first encountered Karen. She was the self-appointed queen of the HOA and had a reputation for being particularly difficult. "Excuse me," Karen's voice sliced through the air like a knife. "Dogs are illegal in Maplewood Estates. You need to get rid of it immediately." I was taken aback. "Illegal? But Max is a service dog. He's essential for my well-being," Karen scoffed. "Rules are rules. No dogs means no dogs. Get rid of it or face eviction." I tried to reason with her, explaining Max's role and showing her the documentation, but Karen was as immovable as a mountain. In the days that followed, Karen's tactics grew more desperate. She started spreading rumors about Max being dangerous, a lie so blatant it would have been laughable if it weren't so damaging. I found myself receiving wary looks from neighbors who once greeted me with smiles. One afternoon, as I was returning from a walk with Max, I found a notice pinned to my door. It was a formal complaint from Karen, filled with exaggerated claims about Max's behavior. She accused him of being a nuisance, of barking incessantly and intimidating residents. I felt a surge of anger. Max was the gentlest creature I knew, his presence a calming force in my life. I tore the notice down, my resolve hardening. It was clear that Karen wouldn't stop until she got her way, but I wasn't about to give in. The situation reached a boiling point at the next HOA meeting. The room was packed, the air thick with tension. Karen had rallied her supporters, a small but vocal group, and they glared at me as I entered with Max. The meeting was a battleground. Karen presented her case with dramatic flair, painting Max as a menace to the community. I countered with testimonies from my doctor and a representative from a service dog organization, emphasizing Max's training and legal protections. The debate was heated, voices rising and tempers flaring. Karen was relentless, but I stood my ground, defending Max's right to be part of our home. After hours of discussion, the board once again ruled in my favor. The legalities were clear, and the evidence against Max was flimsy at best. Karen's face was a mask of fury as the decision was announced. The aftermath of the meeting was a period of uneasy calm. Karen's influence in the community had taken a hit, but her resentment towards me simmered like a dormant volcano. Neighbors began to come around, some even apologizing for believing Karen's lies. But the damage was done. The sense of community I once felt in Maplewood Estates had fractured, replaced by a lingering tension that hung over us like a dark cloud. Months passed, and life settled into a new normal. Max and I continued our daily routines, but the encounters with Karen remained a constant reminder of the divide. Then, one fateful evening, as I was walking Max, Karen approached me, her expression unreadable. "I hope you're happy," she spat. "You've ruined this community. You and your dog." I sighed, tired of the endless conflict. "Karen, this isn't about Max or me. It's about your inability to accept change and respect others' needs." Her eyes flashed with anger. "You don't belong here. You never did." I looked at her, a sense of finality settling over me. "Maybe you're right, Karen. Maybe I don't belong in a place where compassion and understanding are overshadowed by pettiness and intolerance. But I won't be the one leaving. That's on you." Karen's face contorted with rage, and she stormed off, her parting words a venomous promise of continued strife. As I walked back home, the weight of her words hung heavy on my shoulders. Max nuzzled my hand, a silent source of comfort. I knew then that our battle was far from over, but with Max by my side, I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Karen really needs to learn some compassion and acceptance. Max sounds like such a sweet and well-trained service dog. It's unfortunate how one person's narrow-mindedness can cause so much turmoil in a community. Kudos to the narrator for standing their ground and fighting for their rights. Stay strong! As a photographer at a popular theme park, I never expected that a seemingly ordinary photo shoot would spiral into a dangerous game of false accusations and threats. Little did I know that entitled Brad's relentless pursuit of freebies would push him to the brink of ruining my career and freedom. Here's how it all went down. I used to work as a photographer at a well-known theme park, And I must say, I was pretty good. I was even promoted to a rover, which meant I had the freedom to roam and take photos anywhere in a specific area. One sunny spring day, I decided to go to my favorite spot in the park. It's a shady area, with a stunning view of the park's iconic landmark. Before long, I had a queue of guests, and I had a great time interacting with them and taking their pictures. At this particular park, there's a special boutique, where kids aged 3 to 13 can get a princess or knight makeover. It's not just a simple makeover. Professional cosmetologists do their hair and makeup, and they can even buy high-end costumes of better quality than the usual ones sold in the park. This service is incredibly popular, and reservations are made 6 months in advance. People often spend over $200, including the tip, for this experience. During my photo shoot, a 10-year-old girl named Becky, who was dressed as Cinderella, arrived with her grandmother, Rhonda. It was clear that Becky had received the full makeover at the boutique. My favorite manager, Oscar, and his newly promoted manager, Diane, came to check in on me just as Becky and Rhonda approached. I greeted them by saying, "Why, Cinderella, you never told me you were coming to visit us. Did she tell you, Oscar and Diane?" Oscar, who was familiar with this routine, played along and replied, "No, I had no clue." Diane laughed along with us. Becky was overjoyed and politely asked if she could have her picture taken. I have a soft spot for well-mannered people, so I rewarded Becky with a full-on photo shoot. I must have taken over 40 pictures, showing her how to pose like Cinderella and using every magical shot available, where a character would appear in the photo. I even made sure to include Rhonda in some of the pictures, referring to her as the fairy godmother. This attracted more guests, and by the end, everyone was smiling. After the photo shoot, Oscar asked Becky and Rhonda if they had visited Cinderella yet. They hadn't. So Oscar led them to where Cinderella was meeting guests and made sure they got to the expedited line for a faster experience. Later, I learned that Rhonda tried to give us money as a token of appreciation, but Diane politely declined, saying, "This is what we do." I returned to my job with happy guests and a great sense of fulfillment. Now, I know what you're probably wondering. Where does the entitled parent come into the story? Well, brace yourself. The next day, when I was clocking in, Oscar called me into his office looking visibly shaken. I asked him what was wrong, and he asked me to sit down because he had some major news to share. A few hours after Becky's photo shoot, Rhonda, Becky, and Becky's dad, Brad, went to our photo center to view the pictures. They liked the photos and wanted to purchase them. One of our services is the Memory Maker, which allows guests to have unlimited digital downloads of all the photos taken on a single day, including character interactions and ride photos. The price for this service is $60, which is actually a great deal if you take a lot of photos. Well, Brad decided that he wanted the Memory Maker for free as a form of compensation for bringing his business to the park and spending over $1,000. He tried to pressure the photo center staff into giving it to him for free, but unfortunately, they didn't have the authority to do so, and informed him of that. Brad then declared that he would go to guest relations and make sure they gave it to him for free, threatening to get all the staff members fired. This type of threat was somewhat common but carried little weight. However, one of the photo center technicians felt that something was off and called Oscar to inform him about the situation. Oscar arrived at guest relations just as Brad, Becky, and Rhonda approached the desk. Before the GR host could even ask how to assist them, Brad launched into his tirade, demanding the free Memory Maker. Oscar decided to intervene and asked Brad what had happened. That's when Brad shouted his now infamous last words. "Give me the Memory Maker or I'll claim that A Quiet Borderline hit Becky so hard that she ended up with a black eye." A deathly silence fell over the room. Everyone turned to stare, and it took at least 30 seconds before someone spoke up. Remember when I mentioned that several guests had witnessed Becky's photo shoot? Many of them had not only waited in line, but also stopped by guest relations to make sure I received recognition for my exceptional service. One family happened to be at the counter with a different GR host when Brad made his accusation. One of the family members recognized Rhonda, Becky, and Oscar and walked over to speak to Oscar directly. They said, "Sir, my family was next in line after the little girl, and I just want to say that A Quiet Borderline was 100% professional and never once touched that little girl. She took the best photographs we've ever had and made my son feel special by asking if he wanted a picture with his stuffed bear. If she gets fired because of this guy's attempt to get something for free, we will never come back here. We will also make sure to tell all our friends and family not to come either." According to Oscar, it was like a scene out of a movie as more people came forward, demanding that I keep my job and that Brad be thrown out of the park. Brad, not wanting to face the consequences of his actions, stubbornly insisted that I had hit Becky. Keep in mind that Becky was right there, showing no signs of a black eye and trying to defend me by saying that I had never touched her. Due to the seriousness of the accusation, security and the OC sheriff were called to investigate. Thanks to the testimonies of Oscar, Diane, The guests, Becky and Rhonda, as well as the photographs and Becky's unharmed condition, Brad was not only expelled from the park, but also received a lifelong ban. Child Protective Services were also contacted to conduct an investigation. I still had to write a witness statement and participate in an interview as a precaution in case Brad decided to take legal action. The fact that someone was willing to get me fired and falsely accuse me, all because he didn't want to pay an extra $60, still fills me with anger. It's disheartening to see how far some individuals are willing to go to avoid taking responsibility for their actions. This incident served as a stark reminder that kindness, empathy, and respect should always prevail, even in the face of adversity. Despite the unsettling encounter, I'm grateful for the overwhelming support I received from my colleagues and the park guests, which restored my faith in humanity. I had poured my heart, soul, and thousands of dollars into restoring my beloved 1967 Impala. But when I returned from a business trip, I discovered that my girlfriend had secretly orchestrated its destruction. Now, armed with evidence and the support of the law, I am determined to seek justice for what she did. Here's how it all went down. I'll try to keep this short. I had a 1967 Impala 4-door that I bought in February 2019. A couple of months ago, I bought my first house that had a 2.5 car garage. I moved the car in and started tearing it down for a complete restoration. I had the body in one bay and the chassis in another, plus the whole garage filled with parts. About 2 months ago, my girlfriend came to live with me during this whole crisis and the whole time has disliked that car. She wants to park in the garage, but I have 2 acres of land with plenty of nice places to park under shady trees, or even in the barn if it has to be inside. I told her tough luck, it's my house, and it's not like I can just throw it back together real quick. Anyways, I was out of town for a couple of days on a business trip for the small local company I work for. When I got back, my girlfriend was all smiles, making me food all the time, doing all the chores and so on. I thought maybe she was just happy to have me home, but then I realized that I didn't see her car in its usual spot. I asked her where she parked so I could make sure I mow that area and keep it clean, and she said not to worry because she parked in the garage. I asked how, and she told me to go check it out. Turns out that while I was gone, she hired some people to come over and move everything related to that car, including the drivetrain, body, chassis, and all parts, and take it all to the local dump scrapyard. I was absolutely dumbfounded. I'd spent over $11,000 on that car, including new parts, services, and the car itself. I told her that I was going to take her to court for that, and she brushed me off like I was being dramatic. I told her that it's done between us and to pack her things and leave. I admit I was really angry, but I did end up getting a lawyer, and as I have all the receipts for all that money spent, and I have her on my house's security camera footage letting the guys in and watching them take it all, I think I can win. Her family and friends are absolutely blowing me up, saying it's just a stupid old piece of junk and that she cannot pay back all that money I spent and that I should just let it go. But I have been putting all my time, effort, and money into that car for 1.5 years now. And gosh darn it if I am not going to get justice for what she did. Am I the jerk? Edit. Thank you all so much for the support and awards and everything. I'm glad I have some people on my side. I got a call from her mom about 20 minutes ago, and she told me that I was ruining her daughter's life over a stupid car. I told her she ruined her own life. I've been gathering documentation and stuff, and I'm about to head down to the police station and file a report, as suggested by Lots here. Once again, thank you all. Went to the police station last night, was told to come back in the morning. Just got back and filed an official report against her for grand larceny and grand theft auto. I showed them all the receipts I had for the car and the footage of her letting the guys come and take it, as well as the title for the vehicle in my name. They said they will be in contact with all 3 parties, me, ex-girlfriend, and junkyard guys soon, and they will hopefully be able to recover some or all of the car. Just have to wait now. They found my car. The junkyard guys apparently were in the middle of hiding it when the police came to ask them questions. It was on a forklift, and they were going to put it on top of a pile of cars that was hidden behind more piles of cars. They said it was theirs and they had the title, but obviously didn't have the title for it. And since they matched the VIN on the chassis and body to the VIN on my title, it was obviously mine. I know at least one person there has been arrested. I think he was in the camera footage I talked about earlier. But I don't know if it was the boss or someone else or even his specific charge. They also told me they would be looking into this specific junkyard for any other vehicles reported stolen. They said they haven't been able to get in contact with my ex just yet, but they're working on it. I'm just so glad they found my car. Luckily, I made quite an album of pictures detailing me tearing down the car, so I can use that to prove which parts they had were mine, so I can hopefully get most or all of it back. The police haven't let me take it back home yet, as they say it is evidence or something, so hopefully I can get it back eventually. Thank you all so much for the support and advice. She's gonna be alright. This story highlights the emotional and financial investment that can go into a passion project like restoring a classic car. The actions of the girlfriend in destroying the car without consent are understandably devastating for the owner. It is important to recognize the value that individuals place on their personal projects and the significance they hold in their lives. Seeking legal recourse in such situations is not uncommon, as people strive to find justice for the loss they have experienced. The recovery of the car provides a sense of relief and closure for the owner, allowing them to move forward from this unfortunate incident. My wife's upcoming bachelorette party clashes with our first anniversary, but it's not just about the celebration. There's a toxic friend involved, a strained relationship, and a series of unsettling incidents. The question lingers, will this night mark the breaking point? Here's how it all went down. The woman my wife is missing our anniversary for dislikes me because I drove a wedge in their friendship, since my wife obviously spends a large portion of her time with me. I also see through her bullying behavior and do not have patience for her. Anytime my wife tries to include this friend in our plans, the friend complains about nearly everything. Yesterday she was carsick when we had to drive an hour and a half to and from the place we went, as she sat in the back. She tried to solve the problem by eating potato chips and 2 cans of soda, only to keep complaining she felt sick. She was clearly hinting that I should have been the one sitting in the back, but I'm recovering from an injury, and the extra room in the passenger seat is helpful. She made very obnoxious comments about my home country and background, to the point where I almost took the train home, leaving my wife with her friends. Living in a new country has already been exhausting, and hearing things like that from my wife's friend wasn't pleasant. My wife didn't stand up for me against the friend, which hurt my feelings. We had a lengthy conversation last night and today, agreeing that I would never go out with this friend again. My wife also said it was only a matter of time before the friendship ended, because she couldn't deal with the negativity and self-centered attitude anymore. On to the problem. April 17th is our first anniversary. My wife is the maid of honor at her wedding and got to choose when the bachelorette party is. She chose the week of our first anniversary, meaning we would be flying home from my home country to a very private getaway that I had planned for our anniversary, and my wife would leave me that night to go to this bachelorette weekend. I'm upset because my wife knew when our anniversary was. She knows this friend doesn't like me at all, and the friend has made comments about my wife getting married before her. I understand my wife is in a difficult situation, but I'm tired of having to be understanding at the expense of my feelings over the friend. I don't know why everyone is criticizing my wife. I have mentioned several times that this woman is a bully. Have you never had a friend who is clearly friends with a bully? It's a difficult situation, especially when the bully has been their friend for nearly 20 years. I have witnessed my wife interact with this friend and be mentally drained continuously. It's a toxic relationship, and it's not easy to get out of. I have been in similar situations myself, so it's not as simple as, she needs to block her. I just had a lengthy discussion with my wife and explained my feelings. She is ending the friendship with the woman after the other woman's birthday party in a week to avoid any fallout. She admitted that her own anxiety about the situation was clouding her judgment, and she doesn't want me to feel the way I did at all. I believe actions speak louder than words, so we'll see what happens. But she was heartbroken and worried I was going to start a conversation about divorce. There were many discussions and disagreements leading up to the end of our friendship. It bothered me that my wife continued to maintain the friendship for the sake of her other friend in their friendship triangle's birthday party. Every day, I became more annoyed because my wife had not defended me to her friend. It seemed like she cared less about my feelings in her country, knowing how much I missed mine. However, she knew that ending the friendship was necessary, and losing our relationship was not an option. After some probing, it became clear that my wife thought her friend was psychotic. She believed her friend would vandalize her car, show up at our house causing problems, and involve all their other friends in the drama. The breaking point came when I told my wife that I would not return to her country from mine. We were back in my country for a Christmas event with my family, if the friendship was still intact. 2 days later, she ended the friendship after her friend called me racist towards the majority white population, 85% plus of her country, despite the fact that I am white myself. As expected, the friend's behavior has become erratic. She has been making excessive phone calls and sending texts. She even tried to apologize to me, hoping to salvage her relationship with my wife, but I had changed my number a week prior. The apology went something like, "I'm sorry if what I said hurt your feelings, but your words hurt mine. My frustration stemmed from my daily experiences in the new country. The friendship is now over, and my wife is concerned that her ex-friend might vandalize her car. She genuinely fears this person. We plan to install another camera pointing specifically at her car as soon as we return home. I doubt this will be the last update." On a positive note, we have actually booked a vacation to celebrate our first-year anniversary. After going through all the challenges and conflicts surrounding their first anniversary, it is evident that the couple had to navigate a difficult situation involving toxic friendships and strained relationships. However, it is reassuring to see that they have taken steps to address the issues and prioritize their own well-being as a couple. By ending the toxic friendship and focusing on their own happiness, they are now able to look forward to celebrating their first-year anniversary and building a stronger bond together. As a key holder at a retail store, I found myself entangled in a suspicious encounter with an entitled woman named Karen. Little did I know, she had a cunning plan that involved defrauding her own employer. Here's how it all went down. I work in retail and recently had an encounter with an entitled woman at the store. Here's what happened. While covering cash breaks, I received a page to go to our lockup as I am a key holder. I was asked to retrieve a pair of headphones, but upon checking, I found out that they were not in the lockup, but in a separate storage area. The associate who paged me also informed me that the woman she was assisting had inquired about our return policy for headphones. Due to hygiene reasons, headphones and earbuds are considered final sale. However, depending on the manager on duty, we may accept unopened packages for return. The exact policy was unclear to me as an employee. When I relayed this information to the associate, she confirmed that she had already explained the policy to the customer. However, the customer insisted that she planned to return the headphones within the 30-day period. This seemed odd, since why would someone buy expensive headphones with the intention of returning them unopened? To resolve the situation, I personally brought the headphones to the cash register and instructed the associate to ask the customer to meet me there. The customer, whom I'll refer to as Karen, approached me. She appeared to be in her late 20s and initially seemed pleasant. However, when I explained our policy on headphone returns, Karen's response raised red flags. Karen confidently stated that she would be returning the headphones within the next few days, emphasizing that they would remain unopened. I couldn't help but ask why she would purchase the headphones only to return them. Karen proudly explained that her job provided benefits that allowed her to make work-related purchases. She was given $1,000 for shoes and other equipment, which she didn't actually need. However, she didn't want to lose the benefit either. So her plan was to buy the headphones to use up the benefit and then return them after the benefit was processed. It was clear to me that Karen was planning to defraud her employer and pocket the money when she returned the headphones. She shared this information without any shame or prompting from me. Having dealt with similar situations in the past, where customers demanded to speak to my manager when policies were enforced, I decided to involve my general manager, GM, directly. I called my GM over and briefed her on the entire situation, while Karen stood there, looking unfazed and considering her actions completely normal. However, my GM stared at her in disbelief and responded sternly. My general manager, GM, pointed out that what Karen was planning to do was fraudulent. She emphasized that Karen could lose her job and reminded her that she was essentially taking advantage of a benefit meant to help employees like her acquire necessary items for work. Furthermore, my GM informed Karen that headphones were considered final sale, even if unopened, so her plan would not work. After delivering this message, my GM stepped behind the counter to speak with someone from a neighboring department. Meanwhile, Karen, with a sour expression, put away her debit card and said, "Fine, I'll just go to another retailer. I've learned my lesson." She stormed out, seemingly unaware that I was standing nearby and had overheard everything she had said. I turned to my GM, who was also a few feet away, and suggested sending a group text to the district to warn them about Karen. However, my GM informed me that it wouldn't be necessary as Karen was unlikely to visit any of the stores in our district. Instead, she planned to go downtown. My GM assured me that she would send a message to the downtown stores to warn them about Karen. My only regret in this whole exchange was not being able to witness Karen's reaction when every location turned her away. I knew that she would probably try her scheme at a different retailer and might even succeed. Nevertheless, I was glad that I had prevented my store from becoming involved in her fraudulent plan. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. By trusting my instincts and taking swift action, I was able to protect my store from being involved in a fraudulent scheme. This experience served as a reminder of the importance of being vigilant and proactive in identifying and thwarting potential fraudsters. This highlighted the significance of effective communication and collaboration in handling such situations. Overall, this encounter reinforced commitment to upholding integrity and ensuring the security in workplace. I'm homeless, trying to find a job, and the library is my only refuge. Little did I know that a seemingly innocent encounter with a child would escalate into a battle of wills. Here's how it all went down. So I am homeless. No, I don't drink, and no, I don't do drugs. I'm trying to find a job, but it's not easy when you're homeless. something I need to address. Every few days I go to the library to charge my phone and batteries so I can keep it on and working. I usually spend 3-4 hours in a quiet corner of the library, glued to the power outlet, charging. Today I had an interesting yet frustrating interaction with a little kid and their parent. As I walked through the sliding doors of the library, I looked around for an open chair near an outlet to sit and charge. Suddenly, I heard a little voice shout out in excitement, "Santa!" and the sound of little boots running towards me. Now I understand why. A big bearded man dressed in red, with big black bags and an oversized backpack on his shoulders, any little kid would easily mistake me for Santa Claus. The kid stopped right in front of me, clenching their fists tightly and trembling with excitement. Couldn't have been more than 4 years old. She looked up at me, her eyes wide open, and said, "Hi, Santa." It made me smile, and I laughed. Her mother quickly came over, picked up her child, apologized to me, and walked away, explaining to her kid that I was not Santa. The whole interaction put a smile on my face, but here's where things took a turn. I finally found an open seat, plugged in my charger, and started doing my thing. The little kid and her parent were on the other side of the library, but the kid was still filled with excitement. I could see her peeking out from behind the bookshelf, staring at me every now and then. This went on for about half an hour. Eventually, I guess the mother couldn't handle her child anymore, so she came over to me. She asked me to leave and find another spot because I was distracting her daughter. I replied, "Hey, I'm sorry, but this is the only open space with an outlet. I need to charge my stuff." She sarcastically responded, "Oh, why is that?" I said, "Because I don't have one. I am homeless." I thought that would be the end of it, as her face turned red and she walked away. But no, she came back. She went to the front desk to ask if there were any outlets outside and if it was okay for me to use them. Seriously, she said that the library was fine with me using the outlet outside to charge, so I should go out there. I asked her, "So you don't want me to charge inside the library, a public institution? You would rather have me sit outside in the cold just because your kid thinks I'm Santa? Is that it?" I looked at her and said, "Well, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas to you. I'm going to stay right here until my batteries are charged." The lady went to the front desk, and I overheard the conversation because I thought I was in trouble and about to be asked to leave. She requested that they tell me to leave, but they informed her that they can only do so if I am intentionally causing a disturbance, being violent, or making threats. I have been here before, and I always keep to myself without bothering anyone. So yeah, I ended up staying there for 4 hours without being asked to leave. My belongings are charged, and I'm all set for the next few days. Honestly, it wasn't the worst interaction I've ever had. At least she was somewhat polite. The encounter described above served as a poignant reminder of the numerous challenges faced by homeless individuals, even in seemingly safe and inclusive public spaces like libraries. It highlighted the need for greater awareness and understanding of the struggles faced by those experiencing homelessness. Despite the frustration and misunderstanding, the narrator expressed gratitude for the library staff's understanding and the chance to charge their belongings. This incident emphasizes the importance of showing kindness and empathy towards one another, as even a small act of compassion can have a significant impact on creating a more inclusive and compassionate society. It is crucial for society as a whole to recognize and address the barriers faced by homeless individuals, working towards solutions that provide support and opportunities for those in need. If you enjoyed today's stories, check out the other videos on your screen now. Submit your own stories at you'rethejerk.com. Subscribe now, or you're definitely the jerk.